Yes, my dear students, I am going to start my session with advanced welding. So, previously I discussed with you regarding the advanced casting, advanced production in the previous videos. So, coming to here this session I am going to discuss with you regarding the advanced welding. Advanced weldings are classified into 6. Okay. So, one is the magnetic arc welding, friction welding, explosive welding, ultrasonic welding, laser welding, electronic beam welding. Right. So, before I am going to start this advanced welding, so first of all let the student should know about what is welding, that is nothing but the traditional welding. So, welding means joining two similar metals with the aid of temperature, without aid of temperature, with the aid of temperature, without aid of temperature, right. So, coming to the traditional classification. So, what are the traditional classifications of the weldings are there? So, in that the first one is the arc welding, traditional welding. So, why I am going to discuss the traditional welding in the sense, so without knowledge of the welding, ordinary welding, traditional welding, so the discussion of the advanced welding is the students may not understand. So, that is what I am going to recollect the information regarding the traditional welding. So, the welding means joining two similar metals with aid of temperature or without aid of temperature. It is nothing but the welding technology or the welding process. So, these weldings are classified, traditional weldings are classified into arc welding, gas welding, thermite welding, submerged arc welding, TIG welding, MIG welding, these are the traditional welding classifications. Okay. Traditional welding classifications. So, what is the necessity of the welding? So, we have the different manufacturing processes like machining is there, casting is there, okay, and forging is there, all blacksmith work is there, blacksmith welding is there, sheet metal work is there, all these are the different manufacturing methods. So, as what we want, so for example, if we want to join sheet, so we go for to select the sheet metal work, that is the riveting or bolting, so like that one, or go for the brazing or soldering. Soldering means, so for joining of the two small wires, cross sectional wires, we go for to select the soldering technique and the brazing technique, that also soldering and brazing. These two are different. So, because it is limited for only small cross sectional wires, small diameter wires, and brazing is also like that one. So, with lesser temperature, with lowest temperature, so we can join the material or the wires or the sheets. So, coming to the why we go for to use the welding in the sense, welding is a permanent joint, and one more advantage of the welding is, so whatever the structure, basic structure of the metal, we will expect the same strength and stiffness and characteristics and grain structure, all these are available in the welding. That is what it is called as the permanent welding. Welding is a permanent joint, it is a permanent joint, it is not the temporary joint. Riveted joints are the temporary joints, bolted joints are the temporary joints, but welding is a permanent joint. So, coming to here, so what I told in the definition, with temperature, without temperature, with the aid of temperature, without temperature. So, with help of the temperature, without aid of temperature. Here the temperature in the sense, so technically it is some limitation is there, a recrystallization temperature. Actually that is called as the melting zone, a recrystallization temperature. So for example, we have the cold working process and a hot working process are there in the forging. Okay. So what is cold working process? So the work is going to be start or work is under below recrystallization temperature. Recrystallization means with the aid of temperature the new grains are formed. It is called as the recrystallization temperature. Recrystals. So crystals means grains. The new grains are formed with the aid of temperature. Okay. So cold working process in the sense the work is under below recrystallization temperature. Okay. What is the recrystallization temperature? So recrystallization temperature means when temperature is effect onto that particular metal, the new grains are formed. It is called as the recrystallization temperature. So before new grains are formed, whatever the work will be there, it is called as the cold working process. New grains are formed, that means above recrystallization temperature. What is the recrystallization temperature in the sense? So whenever the temperature is above melting point temperature of the metal, melting point temperature of the metal is called as the recrystallization temperature. Below melting point temperature of that particular metal is called as the below recrystallization temperature. So for example, the melting point temperature of the iron is 1539 degrees centigrade, 1539 degree centigrade. So here whenever the temperature is one third temperature of the melting temperature. So for example, one third in the sense 1000 degree temperature, 1000 degree temperature. So the 1000 degree temperature is effective to the particular iron is recrystallization temperature. Below the 1000 is called as the cold working process. So hot working and cold working. So here with the aid of temperature, in the sense more than the melting point temperature, that is with aid. Without aid, for example, forging is also called as the welding, but forging is below recrystallization temperature. The work is going to be finished below recrystallization temperature, is nothing but red hot condition. So red hot condition is not the melting zone. So red hot condition is, we are able to understand that one, the metal is in very hot, that indicates, that color indicates metal is under higher temperature, but it is not the melting point temperature. So when the work is going to be below that recrystallization temperature is called as the cold working process. Above recrystallization temperature is called as the hot working process. Okay. So why I am going to reveal this information regarding the welding in the sense, so the welding means with the aid of temperature, without aid of temperature. So for example, in advanced manufacturing process, that means whatever in welding in the sense, it is relevant to the melting point temperature, right. So coming to here, arc welding. So arc welding means with aid of the higher temperature. So how you will get the heat? Okay. So the resource is, all the classifications are depends on only resource of heat. How you will get the heat? How you melt the parental metal? That is the point here. All the classifications of the welding, all the traditional welding classifications are depends upon what kind of heat that will be inducted into the parental metal. That is the main part. So how the classification of the welding is depends upon the resource of the temperature. Here the resource of the temperature is generator. Okay. So that too, it is the electrical generator. That means, so with the help of the temperature, the induction heat is generated. So with the help of that induction heating, the parental metals are coming into molten stage. So parental metal in the sense left side and the right side, top and bottom. So for example, this is one end and this is the other end. See this one, I am going to keep one upon another. So this kind of the joint is called as the lap joint. It is the overlapping. So lap joint. So I am going to introduce the arc or with help of the same metal, that is called as the electrode. So, electrode is melts with the aid of the temperature, and at the same time which creates a zone, heating zone. So, this heating zone is melts the parental metal edges, left side and the right side, and the bead will be formed between the part 1 and the part 2, that is the weld bead, top and weld bead at the bottom. So, these two are joined together permanently. Welding is a permanent joint. So, permanently the weld bead is the electrode is melts and supply the filler material into where we want to weld the parental parts. So, that is called as the arc welding. Next one, gas welding. What is gas welding? Here what I shared the information. So, whatever the resource of the methodology is there, all these methodologies are just giving the heat in different sources. So, when we want to use the generator, it is called as the arc welding. When we want to use the gas, it is called as the gas welding. Next, thermite welding, high temperature. So, submerged arc welding, the welding is lower side at the inside without the aid of the oxygen. So, that is the submerged welding. And TIG welding, tungsten inert gas. TIG, tungsten inert gas welding. So, tungsten is an electrode. Inert gas, so helium or hydrogen, so these gases are utilized for welding process. TIG, tungsten inert gas welding. Next, MIG. So, MIG, that means, so here the TIG and as well as the MIG. So, that means, so we are using the different resources to weld bead, to get the temperature, to join the metallic parts. So, the same thing here, we want to use in the welding, we are able to use the two types of electrodes and two different types of the poles are also. So, later we go for to discuss about that one. So, first of all, the electrodes are two types, consumable electrodes and non-consumable electrodes. Consumable and as well as the non-consumable. So, consumable means, so whenever the temperature is inducted into the electrode which melts and supply the filler material, so where we want to weld the parental parts, it is called as the one kind of the electrode, right? And second one is the non-consumable electrode. So, non-consumable electrode means, so these kind of the material is having the high melting point temperature. So, for example, tungsten. So, tungsten melting point temperature is more than 4000 degrees centigrade. So, whereas iron melting point temperature is 1539 degrees centigrade. So, I am going to tell about you about the comparison. So, its melting point. So, tungsten is used as an electrode, but it will be act as a non-consumable electrode. It may not consume, but welding is being over. Okay. So, similarly, what kind of electrode is suitable for what kind of metal? So, the thing is that, so for example, if I want to weld the iron sheets, electrode is also the same family. Okay. So, iron basic, whatever the parental material is there, the electrode is also use the same kind of the electrode, same kind of material. If it is iron, electron is that is electrode is also iron. If it is mild steel, electrode is also mild steel, right. So, and resistance arc welding is also there. So, it is resistance arc welding. Resistance arc welding. Resistance arc welding. So, resistance arc welding is mostly suitable for the sheets, vessels. Okay. So, because so the welding is just like a stitching, how the stitching is there for the glass, the similar way. So, we go for to join the two parental sheets. That is an example where we are going to use thermite welding, submerged welding, TIG welding, MIG welding. Okay. Next, to soldering. The purpose of the soldering is to join the non-ferrous or the ferrous wires. That means, so wire in the sense very small cross section, so that it not require the higher temperature. Smallest range of the temperature is enough to join the wires. Soldering. So, for example, in electronic work or the electronic repair shop, so they are going to use the soldering for what purpose? For joining of only the wires, smallest cross section, smallest diameter of the wires which are able to join together. And next one, the brazing is also the similar kind. So, these are the traditional weldings. Okay. So, we have the traditional weldings. So, why we go for to use the advanced welding. So, the advanced welding is the fastest welding rather than the traditional welding. In the traditional welding, there are so many defects are there. So, defects in the sense, if the electrode material is not proper way, not it is good. So, the weld bit is not supposed to be get higher strength. And some of the defects are also we are going to expect, that is porous holes, okay, bubbles are forming at the inside. So, welding cracks are there. All these are the defects which are observed in the ordinary traditional welding. So, because it is totally in a manual work, it is not the automatic work. So, manual work in the sense, so manual errors means selection criteria of the electrode, okay. So, holding of the electrode, okay, and the traveling of the electrode, okay, and the kind of cooling. So, and similar, so the percentage, the composition of the electrode material is not in the proper way. So, these kind of the problems are arises, these kind of the defects are expecting during the welding. So, that is what, so the welding inspection is also that we have to do, because so what we are expecting from the welding is the parent and metal strength, the similar parent and metal strength, similar structure that we are expecting. So, that is what, so we go for, after the welding is over, we want to check the magnetic testing and as well as the oil testing and the ultrasonic testing. So, whether the structure is good or not. So, because so the welding is mostly suitable for the specific cases in the sense. So, for example, a boiler shell is there, or a gas pipeline is there, or a cylinder is there, or a vessels are there. So, gas vessels are there. So, if the improper verification is going to be done, so it is a biggest problem which can be arises. That is what. So, the welding technique is very important, and at the same time the testing is also very important for the welded bits, right. So, this is about the traditional cases. And coming to here, advanced welding. So, advanced weldings are magnetic welding, friction welding, explosive welding, ultrasonic welding, laser welding and electronic beam welding, right. So, what is magnetic welding? So, what is the purpose of the magnetic forces? Magnetic forces are useful for to generate the current. So, north pole and the south pole. So, here whenever the north pole and the south pole are attracts towards. So, how the magnetic field is generates? So, when we are going to supply the current to the negative pole and the positive pole, north pole and the south pole. So, these are releasing the magnetic waves. So, these magnetic waves are oppositely attracts and creates the magnetic field, so that the motor will run. That is nothing but the electrical energy into mechanical energy. Rotation is nothing but the mechanical energy. So, north pole and south pole are getting the power, electric power, and the motor will be rotates. So, that is the phenomenon how the power is generates. So, due to the magnetic field only. Right. Similarly, here the magnetic arc. So, due to the magnetic, so we can generate the arc. That means nothing but the higher temperature. With the help of the higher temperature, so the parent and metals are getting into molten stage, and these are exchange their electrons each other, and the weld bead will be formed. So, that is about the magnetic arc welding. It is a specialized welding without any defects, sophisticated welding. Very smart welding also, it is called as a smart welding. That means, so after finishing of the welding, we are able to understand that one where the joint is there. So, that much the strength and as well as no identification marks are available after finishing of the welding. That is the smartness of the magnetic welding. And friction welding. So, friction welding means, one example that I am going to share with you. So, in lathe, the workpiece is rotating. Tool is stationary. When tool is also rotating in opposite direction, the lot of friction is generates between the two faces of the rods. So, for example, this is one rod, this is one more rod. These two are faces together, each other. It is rotating in clockwise and this one is rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So, whenever a metal contact, when a metal to metal, the contact we can expect. So, this will be rotated this direction and this is rotated this direction. When these two are faces each other, lot of temperature is generates due to the friction. So, whenever the temperature is raised, definitely that leads to the melt of that basic metal. Whenever the metal will melts at its faces, automatically the ion exchange is possible and the weld bead is going to be generates on each faces, so that the metal will be joined together. So that is about the friction welding. Next, explosive welding. See, observe, for all this reason of the welding is the temperature, higher temperature. So here whatever the method that we are supposed to be used to generate only the temperature, right? So magnetic temperature, friction temperature will generate. Explosive means external agent that we are going to supply as an explosive material to blast that particular area. So then automatically higher temperature will generate and the joining will be possible between the two faces of the parental metal. So that is about the explosive welding. And the ultrasonic welding. Ultrasonic welding means, so ultrasonic rays are going to be released. These are very dangerous. In the nuclear power plant, so there is a alpha, beta, gamma rays are there. So these are very harmful to our human being body. So why it is harmful? So because in the ray, in that particular ray, there are higher temperature is generates. So just ray which will passes, which will blast that particular area, okay, spoil that particular area. So with that aid of the temperature, the joining will be possible for the parental metals. It is nothing but the ultrasonic welding. Next, laser beam. Laser show is available in the different occasions. So special occasions, dance programs, or maybe different occasions, there is a laser show is there. That laser show frequency is very less. It may not harmful to the human being body. Whenever the frequencies goes on increases, then automatically which generates the higher temperature, right? So due to that higher temperature, the parental metal, for example, if I want to join these two plates, see here, two plates. So this area I want to make the joint. So there I am going to supply the laser rays. So there the particular area which can melt to the particular area and exchange of ions are possible. There the weld bead will be formed with the aid of electrode or with the aid of the electrode, with the help of the electrode and without help of the electrode. So the electrode beam will be formed, that is the weld bead will be formed and joined together. Next one is electronic beam. So electronic beam means, so immediately our brain will be switched over to the in TVs there is a beam will be there, old TV. Now presently we are using the LED screens. So LED behind the LED. So in previously there is a oscilloscope is there at the inside. So there the beam will be generated with the help of the kind of the electronic beam. With the help of that one, all the white spots are going to be formed, all these mixing together. So the picture will be formed, picture tube. So the picture tube, inside of the picture tube, so there is a electronic beam is there. So with help of that one, the picture will be formed, whatever it is, right? So the similar way, with the help of the electron beam, we can generate the higher temperature. So with that higher temperature, which is useful to make the welded joint. So that will be called as the electronic beam. So magnetic arc welding, frictional welding, and explosive welding, and ultrasonic welding, and laser welding, and electronic beam welding. These are the latest and advanced welding technologies, or the welding methods which are used to join the parental methods with the aid of temperature only, not without. So with the aid of the temperature, so it leads to the permanent joint. Sometimes, so for example, as what I discussed about the resistance welding. In the resistance welding, application of the resistance weldings are making of cooking utensils joining. So for example, a vessel is there. So vessel, there is a handle. So see, observe, when you want to, when the time permits, you please go and observe in the kitchen. So there is a different vessels are available. So observe the vessel, one vessel which is having the handle. That handle may not be joined with the help of the rivets or the screws. It is joined with the resistance welding, just a taka. Two takas are available, top and bottom, and handle will be fixed to the vessel itself to carry. So, how that spots are getting? With the help of the resistance welding only. Similarly, sheets, vessels, pipes less than 5 mm thickness of the sheets are welded by means of the resistance arc welding. So, this is about the traditional welding methods, and this is about the advanced welding methods, right. So, thank you very much. So, with this I am going to conclude this session.